The thing that I do fear with AI, and there's not many things, but a couple is one, the way people use it, because I think people weaponize it against each other, and two, I do think that we're getting to a place now because of how good DeepSeek is, that we now are so excited to be behind the wheel of a new car that goes faster than any car that we've had before, but we're not really sure how to drive it. We don't know how fast we should really go. And so now we've hit the gas to the point where we're going 240 miles an hour, but we're driving along the side of a cliff. You gotta be very careful with your turns. And we're just so excited to be behind the wheel that we might go off the cliff at any moment. Because DeepSeek is, I wish that I had the acumen to describe it, because some people say the reports are overblown and some people say that it's not as good. But just to give you the best gist as I understand it, is that OpenAI has taken all this time and billions of dollars to get to where it is, right? So we're right here. DeepSeek, which was the side project of this team in China, got past them with apparently $6 million. So billions here, $6 million here, much better with old hardware, because we control the chips. So we send the chips to other countries that they can work on the AI or not. And we sent less chips to China and older chips to China to keep China behind us. So the idea that they could get further than us with old chips is terrifying if your whole plan was to stay ahead. And so now OpenAI is coming out being like, DeepSeek only got this good because they stole from us. And then every artist, every writer, every creative was like, oh, they stole from you? Oh no, what does that feel like? Theft. What does that feel like when someone steals your work that you worked on for years, really?
That is funny. So why that's funny is, I don't know if you've seen, but like the Studio Ghibli and like the people making like the Simpson recreations and just different things like that. A lot of people was just all like, yo, Studio Ghibli spent decades as far as perfecting a style that now people can just be like Studio Ghibli style, and they could create works with that art style. And a lot of artists, creators have expressed that, it's one thing to have AI learn, as far as, to look at things and learn, essentially. Artists' biggest complaint is that you're doing this, you're spitting out things that are in my particular style, and I'm not getting any compensation for it. So I understand that. I also understand as far as how in the world, and because I understand that there's ways that we want things to go, and then there's the reality. So it's always interesting when I hear certain people speak to each other, and especially like with certain debates, because you can tell the gap, not just in experience, but just with awareness of what's going on. So, for example, sometimes a lower level employee will look at how things are ran and be like, this is efficient. Why are we doing this, and this? The manager would be like, okay, because you're not aware of like how things work. This is how it works. This is why we have this. This is why we have this, etc. So I feel like an aspect of that is going on, whether it be the tech companies, whether it be the government, whether it be, whatever else is going on. There's a level of awareness that as artists, we could be so um protective, and I don't say that in a bad way. I say that in the sense that in the act of protection, at some point we have to look at not being prepared for the inevitable, but understanding how things work. I get that maybe there could have been a different way for AI to go about this instead of basically feeding. And this is what's crazy, it's feeding it stuff that's already out to the public. So as a human, you can look at things for reference, you can look at things for study, you can literally look, practice, and different things like that. And you can essentially, literally, you do the same thing that AI is doing. Heck, there's even, if I'm not mistaken, I mean, I read this book, Still Like an Artist, and and different things like that. So now we have technology that's essentially doing the same thing. Again, I'm not saying that it is correct, and I'm trying to think of solutions to where something good can happen, but we have to take a look at what do we want to happen. So you want every artist to submit some sort of you know documentation that, hey, I found my art used with AI without my permission. I either need to be compensated, or there needs to be some type of credit system, maybe like, for well-known artists, it's a little bit easier because their style is in their actual like work, so it's for them, it's a little bit more easy. Like the whole Studio Ghibli thing, it's just all like, well, we know it's Studio Ghibli. With other artists, I'm trying to think like, is there a credit system to where it's just all like, to generate this particular image, it used this artist, this, like some type of like receipt or something. I don't know, but it it sucks because it's the same thing with music, it's the same thing with a lot of this stuff, but essentially it is using a lot of this stuff. I don't know if there maybe was a thing to where it's just all like, if you can sign up, if you want your art to be studied for AI to be able to learn, with your permission, and again, I say these particular things and they may sound like common sense things to do, but it's just not that easy. You know what I mean? Because I think what some artists don't want to um admit is how much of their stuff is similar to other artists. And that's where things start getting tricky. You have this artist that is just like, hey, this AI is using my art. And then you have this artist who's saying that AI is using their art. But these are two different artists with similar styles that are claiming that so again, there's certain things that we do have to take into consideration, that it's not just as cut and dry as what's happening. And the thing is that because there's so much good and things that you are able to do with AI to be more efficient and to get more stuff done. Hey, even, you know, for me, I don't use AI to write music or to write my stories. Those two things, I'm just all like, no, I will just continue to, that's just me. That's me. And I know for maybe painters and illustrators, they're like the same thing. It's like they won't use it to make their drawings, but they'll use it to write an article, or, so then it's just all like, it starts going into this world, what's actually considered art. Like it could go in a crazy direction. So that's why I kind of stay neutral. I use it for what it is that I use it for. But you know, we're in a time frame to where it's like for me, I use it to generate images, you know, and use it for the art for my comics. And it's crazy because it's just all like the consumer, like if you're not an artist, it's like I get great feedback like, "Oh, this looks dope." And again, I'm using the image as just the backdrop to my original writing. You know what I mean? But again, you know, and that's because I want to be able to pay an artist. I'm not like sometimes people have to take into consideration where the person who's using the AI is coming from. I don't want to not use a real artist. I just know for what I'm asking for, not for one, that being a lot of money. And because of that, well, not just it being a lot of money, it being a daunting task, you know, and because of that, I know that that's something I need to pay for. Some people be like, well, just learn how to draw. Da, 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 da. Look, at some point, you you start realizing your own personal bandwidth, you know, and I wish, not necessarily, because again, sometimes people say, before we get into that, this video is sponsored by me. Hey, if you want to dive into new music, I have a catalog. Catalog. Yeah. These are not singles, these are albums. But more recently this year, I did release an album called Tame Chaos. So you can listen, stream, download, purchase all of that in the link in the description. And just check it out because I want to see if people are actually seeing this and going to the site. So anyways, I would want to my the memory ran out, but I'll wrap it up. I would want to be able to pay, but again, you run into things to where maybe you have an idea, people aren't responding, people aren't doing different things, and for me, I've always like if I want to accomplish something, I'm not going to wait because of like another person, and it's not even a diss or anything to them. I'm aware, like, yo, again, maybe they may not like the idea, maybe, XYZ, they got other stuff going on, whatever it may be. And then you look at the prices like on Fiverr, for, like per page to be able to do a comic. And usually I'm thinking of stuff that is 25 to 50 plus, page comic book ideas. And it's just all like, yeah, nah. But the way that I look at it is if I'm using it as a reference, like I was talking to my homeboy, I was just all like, yo, did you know that they drop movies to where it's like a reference movie? Like they go through the whole movie, film it, but it's different actors, different everything to pitch to another, like a studio for them to pick it up. And I was all like, and that's basically what I'm doing when I use AI for my comics. I'm like, I'm using this as a reference for my original story. And if it happens to, pick up, then it's like, then I can use this and be able to invest in a real artist to make it an actual thing. But to not have the idea come out because of this, and it's a weird thing to be in, because I understand from the artist standpoint, and I also understand from the business standpoint, and I also understand as far as like from the technology standpoint. It's weird, but let me know y'all's thoughts in the comments with what y'all think about AI. The irony, of OpenAI talking about like, yo, the China stole from us, and it's just all like, well, artists are just all like, well, you stole from us. I thought that was funny. But anyways, yeah, it's Mr. Composition, the MC that writes fiction. Back at it with another reaction. Make sure you like, subscribe, notification bells on so you don't miss when I drop a new video on the road to 10K. Make sure to check out the description for my music, books, comics, and more. All right, y'all. Peace.